I am going to make a statement that might upset many individuals. For years, I trained Aikido and told myself I was prepared for real violence. I was not. That belief almost got me hurt. In a real-world situation, everything I trusted failed, and the most terrifying part was not the threat in front of me. It was realizing I had been lying to myself the entire time. This is not a theory. It is not respectful. Honestly, the techniques I learned as self-defense failed to protect me in any way. Quick ask, please like and share. Stay till the end for the solution. If you are training right now and feel confident because of it, this video might shatter that comfort, and it should. I know how that sounds. I know how invested you can be in a discipline that shapes your body and your mind. But this isn't about shame. It's about truth. And before you say, you just trained wrong, let me stop you, because I believe that excuse too. I trained with certified instructors. I followed the curriculum. I trusted the system. The problem wasn't dedication. The problem was assuming the dojo and the street are the same place. I trained with certified instructors. I followed the curriculum. I trusted the system. And when reality showed up, none of that mattered. The problem was not effort or dedication. The problem was believing a system that never had to prove itself under real pressure. For a decade, I walked into that dojo with complete confidence. The morning rituals, the bowing, the warm-ups, the slow, precise footwork created a kind of calm armor. The serene image of Aikido, the flowing movements, the philosophy of redirecting energy, it all seemed so elegant, so effective. We practiced form, timing, ukemi, and the idea that an attacker could be guided rather than struck down. That confidence was reinforced every week by controlled partners, polite resistance, and drills that rewarded technique over chaos. I believed in the system's real-world applicability, especially given all the common misconceptions about self-defense I'd absorbed. That posture and principle beat brute force that harmony could trump harm. Then came the moment that shattered everything, and that calm armor proved more fragile than I ever imagined. The specific incident that started the unmasking was quick, ugly, and unexpectedly simple. I was walking out of a convenience store late at night. Two people started shouting. An argument turned physical. Before I could fully process it, I was grabbed, pushed, and hit with something that looked nothing like our slow-motion practice. The clean, controlled movements of the dojo met the chaotic, brutal reality of a real-world threat. Nothing, and I mean nothing, worked the way it was supposed to. Let me break down two concrete technique failures so you can see why the illusion collapsed. First, a joint lock I drilled thousands of times. In the dojo, it was beautiful, elbow isolated, torque applied, partner goes down in a controlled fall. In real life, adrenaline spikes, the attacker pulls, twists, and doubles down on the strike. The lock couldn't be set because the opponent wasn't following the expected pattern. The grip slipped, my balance collapsed, and the technique turned into a liability. Surveys of street violence show roughly 80% of altercations involve striking, punches, slaps, kicks. Techniques predicated on a cooperative partner or precise repositioning often fail against raw, immediate assault. Second, a throw meant to redirect momentum. We practiced it as a sequence: pull, pivot, guide. On the street, the attacker resisted in a direction we didn't anticipate, grabbed clothing, and moved with reckless force. The pivot never happened. Gravity worked against me. The recovery techniques we rehearsed in slow time were useless. Studies indicate about 70% of real attackers resist with intensity and unpredictability that standard uke training rarely simulates. And then there's the ground. Over 50% of fights end up on the ground within seconds. I had spent virtually no time training for a violent scramble on concrete or asphalt while someone was still trying to strike me. The missing elements were obvious: adrenaline, uncompromising resistance, improvised weapons, and the environment. Your peaceful dojo partner is not a stranger in the dark who wants to hurt you. Once I understood that gap, the myth that technique alone would save me began to fall apart. My perspective on effective self-defense changed dramatically after those experiences. The average street fight lasts less than 90 seconds, often much shorter, 90 seconds. That demands immediate, decisive action, not flowing philosophy or waiting for the perfect moment to redirect energy. Under that kind of time pressure, hesitation costs you. What actually proved crucial when things got real were simple, practical skills. Effective striking to create space or stop an attack, basic grappling for control if we hit the ground, and razor-sharp situational awareness to avoid surprises. The data backs this up. Effective striking accounts for about 60% of successful defensive outcomes because it can quickly neutralize a threat or secure an opening to escape. Ground skills matter too. Knowing how to get up, control distance once down, and defend against strikes while pinned is often overlooked yet life-saving. Another brutal truth: philosophy and sport training have different objectives. Aikido teaches harmony and conflict resolution. Sparring arts might reward points or form. Both have value, but on the street, the objective is survival and escape, not flawless technique or respect for the attacker. That shift in objective means training must be measured against a different standard: real-world effectiveness under stress. So I began exploring alternatives. I started investigating martial arts and self-defense systems that prioritize practical, aggressive techniques and stress inoculation. I looked at boxing and Muay Thai for striking, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling for ground control, and reality-based self-defense programs that emphasize high-intensity scenario training. I also explored Krav Maga and hybrid systems that force students to react under pressure. The hybrid approach I developed wasn't about abandoning Aikido's useful principles, balance, spatial awareness, and joint knowledge, but about integrating them with disciplines that taught me how to hit effectively, survive a scramble on concrete, and escape under duress. Practically, that meant changing drills, adding full-speed strikes, training with resisting partners who don't tap out politely, practicing escapes from pins on hard surfaces, and simulating environmental hazards like broken glass or uneven terrain. Training changed from rehearsal to rehearsal under stress. I learned to prioritize actions that create space and immediate escape opportunities. I also accepted that no single art has all the answers. Versatility and adaptability do. The goal became functional competence across likely scenarios, not aesthetic perfection. Here's what I want you to take away. First, question your assumptions about any self-defense system you're learning. Ask whether training simulates chaos, adrenaline, real resistance, environmental hazards, and whether it conditions you to act decisively. Look for programs that explicitly rehearse the unpredictable. Second, situational awareness is paramount. Avoiding conflict is the ultimate self-defense. Data suggests initiative-taking awareness can prevent over 90% of potential conflicts. Practically, that means scanning exits, keeping distance, and de-escalation as first options. Third, pursue balanced training. Combine striking, grappling, and scenario work with the reflective lessons of philosophy-based arts. Train to create space, to escape, and to survive the messy reality of a street encounter. Thanks for supporting the channel as we head toward the 500 subscriber mark. Please help us with this endeavor. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss future content. If you want to stay with me, choose a video on your screen and we will see you there. Stay safe, keep learning, and remember, confidence is valuable, but it must be earned under real conditions.